Welcome to this Euronews special report, and we are joined live by the Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sar. Sir, thank you very much for joining us on Euronews. Of course, a military operation led by the U.S. and Israel is still ongoing, but what is the latest that you can share with us on the ground?
Yeah, we had intensified the attacks on the Iranian regime during the day. We will conclude it at the end of this day, but it's clear that is significantly weakened. And I also tell the Iranian people they have an opportunity now. They have an opportunity to regain their freedom, which was denied by this murderous regime that repressed them so cruelly. And I hope they will be able to do it.
And we're going to get into the politics in a second, but Minister, what kind of operational details can you also share with us in terms of the precision by which you're able to not just locate, but really hit the heart of this compound, resulting in the killing of the Supreme Leader?
Calling this person Supreme Leader, which is correct, he was the Supreme Leader of Iran, but he was a mega terrorist, personally gave order for terror actions around the world. I just heard the announcement from Argentina about the terror attacks he was responsible for during the 90s in this country. But he was also the person that gave the orders to repress the Iranian people themselves. And of course, he was the one that was leading the ideology and the intent of the Iran to eliminate the state of Israel. And not only by declarations and as an ideological matter, but also practically by sponsoring, by training, by financing the terror organizations around us, like Hezbollah, like Hamas, like the Houthis, with the same intent to eliminate the state of Israel. So we were able to take out this dangerous person, and also quite a significant number of persons from the establishment of the Revolutionary Guards that were designated, as I mentioned, not very long time ago by the European Union as a terror organization. And we did it while two discussions in Tehran took place about how to further repress the protest of the Iranian people against the regime. They were taken out while discussing this issue.
But can you tell us, and I know this is delicate, but can you tell us how long in the making this operation has been, and what made you think this was the right time?
It was clearly the right time because first of all, we had the intelligence and we share it with our American friends that they plan to move the nuclear program to a deep underground, to a deep place below the ground, when actually it will be immune from Air Force attacks, and also to do the same thing with the with the high numbers of missiles, long-range missiles production. So we had to do it now before a very dangerous fact was created. That's one thing. But on the other hand, it was important also to address the expectations of the Iranian people that heroically fought for their freedom and expected some help from outside. So for I admit we had, of course, security concerns. We have national interests because we determined that this regime, which is the most dangerous regime in the world, won't have nuclear weapons. But at the same time, other things happened during the last month. So all these things, after negotiations with the Americans, made it clear I don't know what is they made it clear time and again that they are not intent to get to a reasonable deal to get rid of this nuclear ambitions they had, or to compromise over the issue of long-range ballistic missiles that threatened also Europe, that we need to act.
Okay, and it seems clear, too, that the Trump administration got fed up, even though some would say, this is why I stress a question of the timing, that Iran now was ready to sit at the table, and that is not the assessment that you make. But I want to read you two quotes, because at this point, President Trump repeated, this is the one time, the one chance, the best chance that the Iranian people may get to take over their country. And Prime Minister Netanyahu also said the same thing. He said, you need to now take your fate in your hands. It is obvious now that this is a call for regime change. What makes you think that you can achieve this? Because a regime change does not happen overnight, and certainly not just from the air.
Well, of course, this is something that the Iranian people will achieve effectively and finally. It is up to them. Mm-hmm. But we need to create the conditions and to weaken this repressive regime to such extent that it will be possible. It was not possible, even though there were millions in the streets, it was not possible without any kind of help, because it's a very brutal regime.
But Minister, Minister, when you talk about the conditions, obviously that would imply...
It might happen during this operation. It might happen after this operation, not necessarily during the operation, but the operation will weaken this vicious regime to the extent that it will be possible for the Iranian people to take their future in their hands again.
And at this point, since you mentioned it may not happen in this operation, are we looking at an operation that is days, weeks, or ultimately it's open-ended warfare? There are no limits until that regime change is achieved. It seems very clear that that is the goal for your side.
The goal, I want to make it clear.
Mm-hmm. What is the goal?
The goal is to remove, for the long term, existential threats from the state of Israel. Because we have a regime that have a decisive decision to eliminate the state of Israel, we cannot achieve it while he's in power. So we were forced to do time and again actions that it will not be able to possess the means he wants to achieve in order to eliminate the state of Israel. So so there is a difference here between the objective and the means to achieve it. But to your question, I don't want to be a prophet and to say how many days. We are decisive to reach.
So there is no timeline as it stands
of the operation.
There is no timeline that you're looking at. There is no timeline of this operation.
No, we hadn't gave to ourselves timeline. We are working closely with our American allies, and we will see how we are developing, and we hadn't put to ourselves any timeline.
And the Americans have told you that they will support you along every path. But they have told you they will support you.
Naturally, we want it to be as short as possible. Mm-hmm. This is clear. But we didn't put to ourselves any timeline. And with the Americans, it's not that they support us. They are working with us, hand in hand, working together to achieve the same goals. It's a mutual operation, and we are lucky enough to have such a great alliance with the strongest country, which is also our best friend. It's the United States of America. And we see and we analyze the situation the same way, and our conclusions was the same.
And sir, you're a diplomat, so you talk about creating the conditions in Iran. To create those conditions, it's understood that you must have some kind of back channel with the opposition, be it inside or outside the country. So what kind of communications have you had?
Well, if we would have it, I'm sure you wouldn't expect that I will say it live. You know that this regime is a very brutal one, but to be totally frank, something is, the most important thing here is connected to the will of the Iranian people. It's not something you can orchestrate from outside when you don't have a real will of the Iranian people, which we saw marching on the streets, demanding their freedom. And this is the basic thing here.
The reason why I asked about the opposition, numbers. Of course, there's been names. Reza Pahlavi has really self-appointed his man in a way as a person that could get the job done. What you're saying is at this point you cannot confirm or deny whether you're in active talks with the Iranian opposition in or outside the country.
Well, I will not, clearly, I will not refer to that, but I'm emphasizing. It's not that someone from outside can play with the will of the Iranian people. All the international community saw very clearly that the will exists to regain their freedom. And this is the most important thing. It's not a cynical thing that you can play with from outside. And I don't know exactly who will be the next leadership of Iran. That will be determined, I hope, by free elections, by the Iranian people themselves. But you must create the conditions to end this tyranny. This is the most important thing now.
And of course, a number of scenarios could play out in Venezuela.
And I want to emphasize, Maria, please, I want to emphasize another important point. The fact that this regime also very brutally attacked so many Arab states from its neighbors without any reason. This demonstrates that it is dangerous not only to Israel, not only to its own people, but also to all its neighbors and to the world peace as a whole. And this is a very important lesson. And from every day which is passing, we see it in another dimensions. It's a very dangerous regime.
But Minister, just on that point, there's a number of scenarios. One is, of course, very similar to Venezuela, where the top leader is out, but the apparatus remain. Is that something that Israel would say is you can work with that solve the issue? You talk about your national security. Is that good enough? And then there's, of course, another scenario in which the people of Iran may hate the regime, but they do not want external intervention, certainly not from the U.S. and not Israel. So how do you work around these scenarios?
We are not intervening with who will be the next leader of Iran. That will decided by the Iranian people themselves, hopefully in free elections. That's the best thing that can happen. This is not our intent. We only want one thing, that anyone who will be in power will not work to eliminate the state of Israel. This is enough for us.
And I got to ask you a final question. Of course, the Europeans, they were not involved. It is clear they played no role in this operation. You informed some countries, not others. Why sideline the Europeans? Do you not find them useful at all?
Well, in Europe, you have all kind of approaches. You know, Europe doesn't have one position on the issue. You can hear Czech Republic, which is strongly supporting this operation, and the Spanish government, which is standing with all the tyrants of the world, like it stood with Venezuela. They are standing now with Iran.
But you know they would disagree.
So you have all kind of approaches. I spoke during the last 2 days, I believe, with most of the foreign ministers of European, EU ministers, foreign ministers, and of course, some of them, a significant number of them, sharing the same view. It was the EU that has designated lately the Revolutionary Guards of the Iranian regime as a terror organization, and but they are not like
so you cannot say they support Iran.
Operation. But they might want it to be successful, but they are not part of this operation we are doing with the U.S.
But why? Because you don't find them useful, and just because you reference a Spanish minister, he did say he rejects the actions of the Iranian regime. He also condemned the Revolutionary Guard, but he also stressed that this operation under international law has breached international law. The UN Security Council was not even consulted, so it seems it's the way that this is handled that they are calling out. Do you get that as a fair point of criticism, sir?
This is totally justified by international law, because international law justify self-defense, and someone who is, when one state is swearing and acting in order to eliminate another state, this state shouldn't wait until it will happen. So it is totally justified. I guess that if there will be other European states that want to join us in the military operation, they will know how to convey the message to us.
And until now, that's not been the case. Just as a final question, in the past 24 hours, what is the message operationally that European governments are telling you?
No, I think most of the ministers I'm speaking with are supportive to what they are doing, hoping that the people of Iran will regain their independence. I saw that Russia was putting out statements that they care about international law, and they said something about Khamenei. They were sorry for his death. I don't think it is the approach, the general European approach.
So you say at this point you consider your actions justified. Of course, in Europe that has led to a debate that will continue in the next few days, but your message is clear. You say the actions that you have taken are justified, and so are the U.S. Just to stress, however, the Spanish Prime Minister did not say he was standing with the regime in Iran. That was not a question that he put forward.
This is a legitimate interpretation to what he said.
But accurately, he did not say we stand with them in this statement. He just said it's not in compliance with international law.
But the statement he put out is an anti-Israeli and anti-American statement, which is, in this case, clearly serving Iran.
Well, again, you know, they would disagree, but of course you make your point very clear, and you say that is your message for the European leadership. Sir, thank you very much for joining us today.
I don't think that the approach of the Spanish government represents the majority of EU countries. On the contrary.
Well, on that note, of course, we have to leave it here. But, sir, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for joining us on Euronews.
Thank you so much.